Hello and welcome back to another installment of From the Heart. I'm your host Jim, and we are honored to have with us Brian, who is currently incarcerated in one of Florida's state prisons. A quick bio is that Brian was in the wrong place at the wrong time when another man shot and killed his friend. Brian was sentenced to life without parole under the Felony Murder Rule. His conviction was subsequently overturned, and the short version is that Brian was forced to accept a plea deal in order to secure a release date. We've put together a few questions for Brian, so without further ado, Brian, thank you for joining us.
Hey, what a wonderful introduction. I just want to thank you for having me. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I appreciate it. I truly do. It's great being here.
Brian, can you briefly explain what this experience has taught you, from arrest and conviction to serving time under the Felony Murder Rule for a crime that you didn't commit?
What has this experience taught me? It's taught me so many different things, humility being the first one, but it teaches you who you are as a person. It teaches you what you're made of, and in the pace of all these things, you begin to find your strength and you begin to find who you are. You know, there's just days upon days of inner reflection where you sit back and you just wonder and think about things, and if anything, you know, you have all the time in the world to think. And in that thought process, you know, you come to see what you're made out of, but you're also come to see who you want to be in the future. You see so many people around you that have nothing, that have no one, and it just makes you so grateful for all the things and all the people in your life that you do have. So it's definitely, you know, a very humbling experience, but it's also a very heartbreaking one as well, which is why we fight so hard to try to change these things. It's a reason to keep fighting. It's just the only thing that you can do, faced with adversity moving forward. There's a lot of people in here that allow the system to break them down, and you can see it in their face. You know, they just don't have any hope. And for me, you know, that's just something that I can't lose. For me, that's something that this place has taught me, is to not only be humble, but to never lose hope, and to be the positive person I know myself to be, and to be even stronger moving forward. You know, it's something that people forget, is that we're humans too. And, you know, we're brothers, we're sisters, mothers, fathers, cousins. You know, we're family too. And until you have a loved one that's incarcerated, you know, it's almost like business as usual when you're free. You go to work, you do what you're supposed to do, you pay taxes and all of those things, and you don't think about the legal system. You don't think about the justice system. You don't think about unfairness or injustice. So I just continue to be appreciative and grateful of everyone in my life and all those people that support me. And I'm just appreciative and grateful for every single thing. I'm appreciative and grateful for every single day that I'm on this earth. No matter how hard or how good those days are, I'm still just extremely thankful for every single day. And I think that's what this place has taught me.
Now, you were initially sentenced to life without parole, or LWOP, at the young age of 20 years old. Tell us what went through your mind when the jury handed down their verdict of guilty.
Just to be accused of something that you know you didn't do, and then to be found guilty of it, was just an unbelievable experience. There were so many things crossing through my mind at that time, but one of the main things that I couldn't shake was the thought of, this can't be happening, this can't be real. You know, this type of thing just simply doesn't happen, but it was real and I was living it. So unfortunately, in a lot of ways, I'm forced to continuously pay for the rest of my life for the actions of another. And I don't feel that that's fair or just, and I don't feel that's justice for Mitch's family, and I just don't feel that's right. But it's my circumstance, it's the reality I live every single day, and I have to wake up to that, and I have to find a way to get through tomorrow and be the best person I can be. You know, being accused of a crime that I know I didn't commit it's a heartbreaking experience. But in that situation, you're just forced to deal with it. So you have to ask yourself in that position, am I going to allow this to make me, or am I going to allow it to make me better? And I hit a point where I just decided, you know what, nothing can break me, and this would definitely not break me, and I'm just going to strive to be a better person moving forward, because it's all you can do.
Your friend, the victim, called asking for a favor, a little help from a friend. Would this experience keep you from wanting to help others now or in the future?
You know, I don't think this experience has, made me want to stop helping people in the future. But it's definitely made me a little bit more thoughtful as far as my decision making, and you have to consider every single outcome and every situation now, and that's something that I've never done before. Not just for not being a cautious person, but I've never considered ill intent on someone else's part, and I've always considered myself to be a good person. So just having that thought process moving forward, I've never considered someone else's intentions. I've just always felt like because I was a good person and I surrounded myself with what I felt like were good people, that I didn't have to worry about those things. And that's something that I have to consider now, because I'm spending 22 years of my life in prison for a crime of another person. So for me, I want to continue to help people, and I always will, because that's in my heart. There's just so many things I could do differently about that day, and so many life changes I feel like I could have made from the outside looking in. Now that I'm past all those things and everything that happened the way that it did, I can look back and honestly say that there's a lot of changes that I could have made and things that I could have done differently. But in that moment, I was just trying to help a friend. And in a way, I don't regret that decision, but I'm so incredibly sorry I cost someone their life.
So, what is your opinion of the criminal justice / legal system now?
Well, I have many opinions of the justice and the legal system at this moment, none of which are any good for that matter. But dealing with the justice system and seeing justice, quote unquote justice firsthand, is not a positive experience. There's nothing related to justice where anyone could say that they received true justice. It's not something that we believe in as inmates or prisoners. The justice system here is just a joke, and no one takes it seriously, because if you look at the amount of time in the system itself, the amount of time that they hand out and just how broken the system is. You have people that are in here, for driving and going to suspended license that are doing 20 years in prison. And you can't honestly look at that from a standpoint of any means and say that's justifiable. You can't look at that and say, well, a person deserved that. It just doesn't fit. The criminal justice system just simply isn't fair. You got people that are serving life sentences for burglaries, and people who are potentially spending the rest of their lives in here for crimes they didn't commit, or non-violent felonies, or simple things. And that's the point that Florida has come into as far as their legal system, is harsh sentencing and laws that don't make sense. There was just a time where Florida felt like that they were too lenient on sentences and too lenient on punishments, and then the war on drugs started, and they shifted those things and turned them into even harsher punishments, even harsher sentences. But now it just simply went from tipping the scales from one side to another, and it's just out of control. It's out of control, and we're a more modernized society. Times have changed, and people have changed. It's just time to change some of those laws that are outdated and to change our legal system. The whole system needs a revamping. There's so many things that need to change, because as people and as a society, we have changed. These laws are outdated, and we're a more modern society. Things are different nowadays. People are different, and this just lock up and throw away the key mentality has to change, because that's not who we are. We're better people in society than just locking someone up for nothing. It just doesn't make sense.
You and the victims were friends, still in high school when this happened. If you could, what would you say to the victim's family?
If I could say anything to the victim's family, Mitch's family, I would just say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything that happened, and I'm sorry that you lost your son and your loved one. I'll never stop thinking about that day. I'll never stop thinking about everything that happened and the tremendous loss of life. And no matter what I do, no matter how far I go in life, no matter all that I overcome, I'm never going to stop feeling the guilt of losing my friend that day, or knowing that by my decisions I could have saved someone's life. And Mitch was my friend, and
so what advice would you have for an 18-year-old young man that was on the same path you were that fateful day all those years ago?
I don't think I could have foreseen any outcome like this. I don't think I've ever could have seen anything like this happening to me. So if I had to give advice to my younger self, I would tell myself to wake up. Maybe not to be involved with marijuana or certain groups of people, but I've always made the best decisions that I know how, and always strive to be the best person that I could, and always make the best positive decisions. So a lot of people out there don't think about those things until it's too late, until they have a family member or it happens to them, and they're caught up in this system that they can't get out of, or potentially spending the rest of their life in prison for something that doesn't even make sense. And unfortunately, that's the culture that we live in. That's the society that we live in. There's so many changes that need to be made, and I hope to see those changes moving forward. You know, you just got to find purpose, and you got to find what drives you and what motivates you, and find your inner strength and capture that and continue to move forward. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, "To live is to suffer, but to survive is to find meaning in the suffering." And you know, I know that quote to be true. I see it every day. We all suffer through the things that we go through. But to survive is to find meaning in those things. Find who you are and find what drives you and the things that you believe and the people that you love, and allow those things to strengthen you and motivate you moving forward. It's very important. You know, one thing that you can never do is lose hope. And no matter how bad your situation is, or no matter how bad the situation is that you're facing, or drastic circumstances, you got to believe that things are always going to work out the best for you, and know that in your heart. And it's one of the most important things to do in time. It's one of the most important things of just being an overall good person, and getting through the hardest parts of your life is knowing who you are and where your strengths are, for sure. You just can't let hardships and life's obstacles stop you. You can't let them break who you are. You have to be stronger than them. You have to overcome them, and you have to find the light on the other side. And this is no different. The situation is no different. To be the best person that I can be moving forward, and I have to start considering what the other side of the fence is going to look like. And for me, that's a reality, and that's something that I have to start thinking about for sure.
From the time you took the call from the victim to watching the prosecutor play his dirty tricks, and including your incarceration up until now, tell us where you are with the entire ordeal.
The situation is just unfortunate, but it is what it is. I can't change it, and all I can do is accept it moving forward, and that's where I'm at. All I can do is just try to be the best person I know how moving forward, and you know, be the person I know to be in my heart. You know, through all this, I've always maintained my innocence, and I've always been sympathetic to Mitch's family and sympathetic for everything that's happened. But it was simply something that was out of my control, and something that I couldn't foresee coming. And there's just so many things that I would have done differently, knowing what I've known now. But I couldn't read the future. I couldn't see someone else's intentions or their intent. And I'm forced to spend the rest of my life paying for that. You know, my arrest and basically my conviction was almost 15 years ago. And in this process, I think I've come to accept what has happened to me, and accept, you know, the cards that I was dealt. But I'm never going to give up hope. I'm never going to give up fighting. You know, I'm a strong person, and that strength is within me. And I'm never going to lose sight of where I want to be and who I want to be moving forward. And this situation has never hindered that. Although this journey has been hard, and it's just full of hardships, it's made me so much more appreciative of everyone and everything I have in my life. So, you know, in a way, I'm thankful that I've had to go through all these things, because it's just taught me so much more humility. It's just taught me to be so much more thankful for all the small things, and that's something that we all lose sight of. You know, bad things and hard situations hit everyone, and that's just the way of life. But in those moments, there's two things that you can do. Either allow those situations to break who you are, or make you better. And this situation is no different. And I've allowed this situation, and continue to allow this situation, to make me a better person. I'm truly grateful and appreciative and thankful for all the people I have in my life, and all the support, all the people that love me, and I'm just thankful for another day.
The gates are open, and you're handed your freedom. What's next in your life? perhaps becoming an advocate for reform, a motivational speaker, writing a book? Tell us your plans and what keeps you going.
The gates open tomorrow, and they handed me my freedom. There's so many things that I would like to do, and so many things that I want to do, and so many things that over the years I've just looked forward to and told myself that I will do. Moving forward, it's just hard to say what I would like to do. It's just that, that feeling of freedom, that irreplaceable feeling of just being able to choose for yourself, or getting up and going to work every day. When you're out there, you're just so caught up in everyday life. It's the little things that you lose sight of. But in here, when you're stripped away from everything, it's just something that you look forward to so much more. Just getting up and going to work every day, being able to hug your family, opening up the refrigerator and just choosing. So there's so many things that I would like to do moving forward in the future. I would love to be an advocate for reform. There's so many injustices that I've witnessed since being in prison. There's so many things that I would like to change. But, even just little things, seeing a sunset or waking up to someone you love, or, just enjoying laughs and memories. And, those are the things I look forward to most moving forward in my freedom.
Have you met anyone else incarcerated and serving time under the FMR?
I've met a few other people under FMR since I've been in prison. One of which was a very close friend of mine that sadly and unfortunately to say gave up hope and took his own life a couple of years ago. But it's still hard to deal with. It's one of those things that you'll never forget. So.
Wow. That is tragic. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, but Brian, I would like to thank you for being on From the Heart and sharing your insights.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for your time, and I appreciate you, everything that you do, and the ongoing continued support, and truly appreciate it, so thank you.
I would like to thank those viewing this as we continue to fight to restore justice to our justice system. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, as well as stop by our website at www.weheartflorida.org. And again, thank you, everybody.